Let me introduce myself. I'm Rakhee Chhabria, and I'm the founder of Teachers Help Teachers, which is an online community of empower educators and help learn from one another. The platform was created in 2015 with the sole idea of getting teachers connect with one another and bring about a change in the way we see education. Because we often find teachers complaining about the way education is and the system is, but rarely do we find teachers moving ahead and taking charge of that system. So this platform is for all the teachers who wish to take charge and be together and help create a change. And of course, when we speak about change, we need to have Dr. Coomi. So it is indeed my honor to introduce Dr. Coomi Vevaina, who is an educator, I would say a lifelong learner. She has two PhD to her credits, one in education, one in literature. She's an educationist, futurist, award-winning writer, TEDx speaker, storyteller, and former head of Department of English University of Mumbai, and now the founder of GTPS, an initiative for change. And because GTPS is an initiative for change, Teachers Help Teachers is a proud support partner of the GTPS Summit. So welcome Dr. Kumi to our platform today as we go live to discuss about the summit and what made you think that this kind of summit is actually the need of the hour and change is what we need to first work towards to in order to bring about in the whole entire system or the whole world and also to enable uh, every individual to work towards that change. So, yes, over to you. If you could tell us before we begin and before we dive into the GDPS summit, first I would like to know who inspired you to become an educator, or rather, what made you choose the stream of education?
Thank you very much, Rakhee. It's always a pleasure to be with you and your team of Teachers Help Teachers.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for the invitation. What inspired me to be a teacher is a very, very interesting question, and it goes back to my personal history. As a little kid, I did not want to be anything other than a teacher for reasons unknown. And this was a mighty joke in the family because I was labeled as a dud when it came to education. I hated studies, absolutely detested studies. And there are all kinds of horrendous stories of how my tuition teachers would never last for more than 3 months. My mother had to tie me to the chair in order to sit me down to study, and I just hated every bit of it. But I wanted to be a teacher. How ironic is that? My rank would be somewhere 29th out of 35 kids, and I would barely scrape through. My school reports would read, Kumi looked at the water filter as if her life depends on it, and maybe my life does depend on it then, because I was so bored in class. The only subject that brought me to life was music and drama. So during the singing classes, I was absolutely in my element. Apart from that, no way. So when my parents realized that for some reason I was just managing to scrape through and I'd finished standard seven, they said, well, let her try SSC. Well, I did clear SSC as well. That was a miracle. I got into Elphinstone College, and there was one teacher who changed everything for me. She changed my life. She made me develop a passion for words. And I could not believe this whole new world that I had entered. Then there was no stopping. The joy that I experienced from learning literature, from all the terrific teachers I had in Elphinstone College, mainly this particular teacher, I wanted to convey that to my students. And because I was a bored learner in school, I wanted to experiment with learning methodologies, even as a very, very young girl. I I started teaching in a particular school, and at the end of the year, I was thrown out because that was a very traditional school, and the principal felt there was too much noise, and the kids were kind of having a blast, having a party more than studying, which was not really true. But I was experimenting right from day one of teaching, and that joy is with me even now. So I just enjoy every moment of teaching. Earlier, when I started my career, I was quite a talk chalk teacher, quite a sage on the stage. But then gradually, I realized that my role was that of a facilitator, not of a sage on stage, but of a guide on the side, maybe. And that is when the joy really reached its summit, because to have children think in class, and by children I should be saying young adults actually, because I'm mainly taught at the university level, to have them think in class, to have them interact, to have them brainstorm, to have them create diverse multiple meanings, that was joyful, absolutely joyful. And to me, education should result in curiosity and in joy.
Yeah.
So that's been
Wow,
my journey.
it's indeed inspiring to know your story, and because you're a fantastic storyteller, I think it just enhances the way you narrate it. So thank you so much for sharing your journey with all
Pleasure.
our audience who's actually listening.
So it's actually been
Teaching.
whether it's university students or it's been school
Fantastic.
students, there has always been joy. If we stop realizing if we start realizing that children are not blank slates on which we write scripts of our choice, we don't have to merely pump information into them, but that they've come into the world with amazing wisdom, their own perceptions, then teaching becomes joyful for both the student as well as the learner. Sometimes there's a lot of fear associated with it. If, for instance, I am teaching a poem and the students go completely off track. I'm teaching a poem of Robert Burns which says, "Oh, my love's like a red, red rose." And the student says, "Why was she red? Did she have pimples? Or did she have measles? Worse still." Well, I could shut up that student and say, "No, this is a beautiful love lyric. It's nothing other than a love lyric." Or I could say, "Come, let's explore the poem together." So I have used all kinds of techniques while teaching literature, brought in a little bit of video, film, dance, music, art. There is a fantastic writer, an Afro-Caribbean writer in Canada, whose poem is called Discourse on the Logic of Learning. And it is one of the very, very interesting experimental poems. So I realized there were some amazing dancers in that particular group, and we had them perform it in the form of Bharatnatyam and mime, and it was electrifying because the way they interpreted the poem and the way they represented it through dance really brought out their own thinking and their own perceptions of the poem. So I really feel that if we work with the students and work collaboratively with them to create meanings and bring in a lot of the arts, because I think arts are extremely important. Today, there is so much of emphasis on STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, very important in themselves, but we cannot do without the humanities and the arts. STEM will prepare our children for jobs, but then 65% of the jobs that we are familiar with today may not even exist 5 years from now. In contrast, humanities will prepare them for some kind of job, innovation, etc., the way STEM does, but they will make people, they will make the learners into whole human beings. So I think our entire education system has to be rethought. Our teaching has to be much more interdisciplinary, much more interactive. And that is when the joy of learning will come through. And we will not have the number of dropouts that we have today. According to UNESCO reports, 264 million children drop out. And that was in 2015. God knows it may be much more now. So students need to enjoy what they are doing. And I think as educators, we can do that. Computers can add to it, because now we can use the computer very effectively, but it cannot replace a good and powerful teacher.
Absolutely. So, computers, tech, though we need to embrace them, we need to learn about the latest technology, and that's what is keeping us connected all over the world across in this pandemic. But I'm sure that we all are missing the connect that we have with our learners in the classroom, because that's affect based. And if a teacher can't have affect in the classroom, if she's not able to build on that, then I think there's no connection and there's no point in that learning. So, Dr. Kumi, you rightly pointed out about how the education system needs a change. And in fact, a rapid overhauling is what we are also envisioning in the new era that's going to come. I would not say post-pandemic, but yes, that is something that we are going to see. So this summit, the GTPS summit, which you have coined, and I remember that when we were talking about the summit way back, I think last year, when we were discussing it about this concept, and I so much believed that this kind of summit, which is action oriented, is actually the need of the hour. So, what was your idea behind coining this GTPS summit? Because I know that you always believe in moving from self to others, moving from self consciousness to collective consciousness. So, is this what the principle is for the summit? Or if you could just let us know a little more about the summit.
Sure, I think I'm going to divide it into parts. The first thing is a title, the Global Tipping Point Summit. And I think this word tipping point has become very, very popular these days. But let me explain it with reference to a very powerful story. The story is of a hundredth monkey. Um, Anthropologists on different islands in Japan were observing monkey behavior. And one particular group of anthropologists felt that there was a little bit of a leader in a monkey whom they called Emo. The anthropologists would give the monkey sweet potatoes. And one day, Emo took a sweet potato, washed it in water, and popped it in her mouth, and it tasted nicer without the mud and grime. So all her little friends started imitating her. And finally, the adults caught on. Now, you would say this is simple imitative behavior, no big deal. But interestingly, what happened is that other monkeys on other islands in Japan also started washing their sweet potatoes. Rupert Sheldrake explains this with his morphic field theory. Very, very simply put, if anywhere between 5 to 25% of a population repeat a certain thought or gesture, it becomes a part of the collective consciousness of that species. Now, this is extremely important for us as educators, as parents, as all stakeholders. Why? Simply because, metaphorically speaking, we may be the first monkey, we may be the 23rd, 47th, and 74th, and 98th monkey. When the tipping point is reached and the 100th monkey repeats that gesture or thought, change must happen. So this entire summit is for it focuses completely on change, on creating the critical mass to reach the tipping point. What change are we really talking about? This brings me to the second aspect of your question. A change in consciousness is what we genuinely need. I know that the word consciousness sounds fairly nebulous.
Very, it's
Right.
something that can't be assessed. So
Yes,
how do we
yes.
see a
It's
change
not
in consciousness?
quantifiable.
It's not quantifiable, yeah.
All right. I'll explain that in a moment. Jiddu Krishnamurti talked about the need for it way back in 1965. More recently, Sir Ken Robinson, who recently passed away, Harari, are all talking about the need for a change in consciousness. The way I interpret it is moving away from fierce individualism, from competitiveness, from the you versus me consciousness. Now, see, Rakhee, you know things that I don't know. That's all right. We don't have to be locked in competition, me versus you. But right from the beginning, from our childhood, we are taught, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? So, competitiveness is something which we learn, but this is not our real nature. Neuroscientists tell us that we human beings are hardwired not for competition, but for cooperation. Having said that, I do not mean we wipe out competition, but we need as much competition as much of salt in food. That's all, not a dollar. So,
So true. Yeah.
if we could transition our learners, our children, our young people from a self versus other consciousness to a self and other consciousness, that is where we bring in cooperation, where we bring in collaboration. You see, as a teacher, you would realize that students enjoy group work. They enjoy
Absolutely.
collaborating. There is
Always.
that kind of tension, that kind of anxiety that you have, where she got 2 marks more than I did. No, collaboration. So self versus other, to self and other, to a point when there is no other, and all is self. As quantum physicists tell us today, and the ancients had told us all along, of our essential oneness. I think the most effective person when it comes to talking about this aspect has been David Bohm, the scientist, a physicist, David Bohm. He says that there is an explicit order. And at the level of the explicit order, we are all different. But at the deeper implicate order, we are all essentially one. This is pure science, quantum physics.
So is
Now,
this what the vision of the summit is all
this
about?
is the
To
vision. This is the vision to create oneness. And let me tell you, Rafi, it's amazing. Currently, my summit coordinator, Donna, and I are working with 108 people, and we are working collaboratively to create this sense of oneness. And it's so beautiful because speakers, change facilitators are all fired up and are working towards change collaboratively.
Yep, I can vouch for that. Being the change
Being one
facilitator,
of
I
the
can
change
vouch for that.
facilitators
Yes,
yourself.
where we are meeting every week and we are discussing ideas, and this is all going to be imparted to the action group. And that's something really, really wonderful. And that's the reason why I feel and I believe that this summit should be attended by each and every educator, because it's something that is going to bring about a change in the way you perceive education as, and start believing that it's you who needs to make the change.
And if I may add over here, we also want parents and other stakeholders to be on the platform.
Absolutely.
We all want
Yes.
to be on the same page. In October this month, on the 18th, we had a youth forum to involve the youth in this change. Why has the climate change movement succeeded so brilliantly? Because there are thousands of youth leaders everywhere. There is no reason why youth should be kept out of change in education. They should be welcome. Their ideas should be welcome. And
Yep.
on the 18th, when we had the youth forum, the students came up with amazing ideas. So
Yeah, I
I
think
think
I was there as in the meetup that happened with the youth forum, and I think this summit is one such summit where I see that the emphasis is laid on all the stakeholders in education. It's not only the educators; it's not isolating the educators only, or maybe the school owners and school leaders, or maybe just the parents or just the students. It's actually bringing the entire community together in order to bring about the change that we wish to see. And it was amazing to see the responses of the youth when they were asked that what is it that they would like to see the change in the system, in the education system, and how they would like to be taught.
and
So we had
parenting and
and
parenting. They
parenting.
also talked
Yes,
about
yes,
parenting. And
yes.
if I may add something here, Rakhi, I sincerely feel that all of us go and attend thousands of workshops, orientation programs, refresher courses, but then there is no follow up. So the main work of the summit is going to begin on the day the summit ends. The summit ends on 31st January. We have two parts to the summit: Education Summit, which starts on the 20th of November, which is a Friday. Then we have Saturday, Sunday, one speaker per Saturday and Sunday weekend. 1.5 hours only. We don't want our audience to suffer from discourse vertigo. So we have 8 fantastic speakers plus one very important special guest speaker. So we have a lot to offer, a lot to debate. If you would permit me, Rakhee, could I just talk very briefly about the way it has been structured?
Yes, in fact, we need to tell our audience that what is different about the GTPS summit. And
Right.
as you rightly said, that we have been attending, I don't know how many webinars and Zoom sessions, and the difference is that we've not been following up. And this summit is something that is going to ensure that we are a part of it, we are a part of the system, and there's going to be a follow up, and there's going to be learning involved for all of us. So if you could also emphasize on those aspects and help our audience know more about it.
So the speaker will be speaking for 20 minutes. At the end of 20 minutes, the speaker will name an action project. 4 people who are already liaising with the speaker and working very intimately to understand each other will deal with 4 different aspects of the project. At the summit, each one will speak for 5 minutes, each of the change facilitators, after the speaker has spoken for 20 minutes. They will tell the online audience which particular area they will be providing training in. After the summit, after the Q&A session, we will invite people to sign Google Forms and request to be part of the action groups. 10 people will be chosen by the speaker and the change facilitators to constitute that action group. After the summit is over, from the 1st of February, the training starts. The facilitators will train the action group members. The action group members will go out into the world and implement those changes. They will get back to the change facilitators and the speakers if something needs to be tweaked or something needs to be changed. The speakers and the facilitators will play the role of mentors after the training is over. At the end of 1 year, we will have a project report. And based on the success of it, we will create a white paper and write to the government saying, we are not discussing and merely hypothesizing that this particular idea is going to succeed. It has actually succeeded. So this is the kind of change, and most importantly, all the resources, the entire training program will be available on our website as part of open resources. Anyone, anywhere can pick it up and do it with their particular communities or schools. So this is the vision of the summit.
Yeah, wonderful. And I think what it is also aiming is, it is, of course, the vision itself says that it's meant to revolutionize consciousness and shift from old and isolationist model to rebuild the new model. And this whole the procedure of the summit that you've just described, where the leaders are going to be working with the action group, and then the action group goes back and implements the learning in their classroom, or wherever they are, they start implementing their learning. So this is what is the need of the hour, where they are not only being mentored, but they are also being followed up on what are the problems or the issues that they are facing while they are implementing, because that is something that we really.
Yes, and I basically feel that teachers, as well as parents, students, of course, and all other stakeholders are extremely well meaning,
need.
but they do not know how to really sustain that change. So, what we are providing is meaningful support to all to make change happen. This is the whole idea. And we have fantastic speakers at the summit. We have world class speakers who have stepped in because they believe in this vision. We also have companies supporting us because, once again, they too believe in this vision. So it's wonderful to see how different stakeholders are working together. But I would want to invite more participation from students, because at the Youth Forum, what we saw is extremely thoughtful and thought provoking ideas presented by the youth. I think we need to recruit them in. So, the GTPS summit is.
Teaching is undoubtedly one of the toughest professions to be in. Not only does it involve researching suitable content, but also devising methods to teach the same in an engaging manner. Regardless, teachers all over the country are investing time in developing lesson plans to suit their learners. What if the teachers were given an opportunity to supplement their income with the plans made by them? Wouldn't it be wonderful if teachers could share their own lesson plans and other material related to education on a common platform and reach out to a larger audience other than their own circle? What if these plans could be stored in a system and made available to teachers who could benefit from the knowledge? Apart from sharing their resource, teachers could also place a request for any kind of content that they are looking for, which could help them to enhance the learning of their students. Education and technology go hand in hand. And what better way than to make use of technology for creating a platform which can help the teachers earn or supplement their income just by sharing their knowledge. Teachers Help Teachers brings to you a curated platform of resources related to education, where every educator is free to join and share their resources, thus reaching out to fellow educators across the country. All that you need to do is log into www.teachershelpteachers.in and create your account to become a member. Once you are a member, you are eligible for free downloads of resources available on the site, which are created by educators for enhancing the learning process. You can also upload your own resource for sale or free download by clicking on the Upload tab in your account. Teachers Help Teachers has been successfully running as a Facebook group with more than 6,500 teachers who share their teaching experiences and seek ideas and support when it comes to teaching. In terms of its long-term goals, Teachers Help Teachers aims to introduce a plethora of resources for teachers and students alike. The company aims to be the go-to place for all educators.
This is exactly the reason why we are collaborating, because Rakhee and her team are doing such important work. Having said this about the summit, I would like to add a couple of things. This is not a one-time event. Like the Kala Kora festival, we want to make this an annual summit. So the research projects will come to an end in February 2022. We will have another summit and we will have new projects which will come in. We've already had very, very successful pre-summit events. On the 9th of August, we had Mr. Vishnu Karthik speak on education. That was a curtain raiser for the Education Summit. And on 6th of September, we had psychologist Binayfa Saukar talk about parenting, solution-focused parenting. And as I mentioned earlier, the Youth Forum on the 18th. All of these are on our website under the section called Past Events. So please visit that.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I think it's a must for all educators who want to know more about the summit. Do visit the past events and have a look, and you will understand the kind of content and the kind of learning that is going to impart. It's just going to be worth the time. So, ma'am, if we may, and now that we have understood the model of the summit, the way in which it's going to operate, and how we are going to be mentored, do you think we as ordinary teachers, educators, can be a part of this when we are actually struggling to bring about a change in our own virtual classroom teaching?
Virtual teaching is a stopgap arrangement, the way I
Absolutely,
see
yeah.
it, because learning is essentially social. this is done out of sheer necessity to keep things going. Maybe that post the pandemic, we hope that'll happen soon, but post the pandemic, we will have hybrid kind of teaching. We will have blended teaching. The content can be learnt very easily from the net, but much more life competencies and all can only happen in face-to-face classrooms and face-to-face teaching environments. Yes. So I think this is a temporary arrangement, and every teacher is important. Rakhee, just a while ago, I talked about the 100th monkey. So metaphorically, every single teacher is important to reach the critical mass. Every single parent is important to reach the critical mass. And that is when change will happen. I'll give you a very quick example. In the 1960s, when people started seriously talking about ecology, most people jeered at them, thought them to be silly tree huggers. I do not think today there is a single rational human being who can say we can trash the planet and get away with it. Why? Because the tipping point was reached and change had to happen. Similarly, with the climate change movement, similarly with nuclear disarmament, all these have happened because the tipping point has been reached. The critical mass have brought about the change. So if we educators could all come together and stop saying, I am different from so-and-so. Let's just work together towards change. Let's make education relevant. I think this is crucial. Unless education is relevant, our young people are not going to be interested in it. I was told as a part of the university that in one of the programs, they were teaching something which is so outdated that it's no longer even understood. It's completely outdated in commerce. That system is no longer even attempted by anyone. So why are we going on with that? It's almost antediluvian. Things have changed. We have AI, we have biotechnology, we are in a different world. So let's use science and technology to enrich education, and let's use humanity and the arts to enrich science-based education. And that is when change can come about. And very, very importantly, I think, if we work towards this change in consciousness in the classroom, as I have trained teachers to do through technopoiesis, a very simple thinking method which I have created, this change can actually happen in the classroom. And I'm not saying this with any kind of ego or self-aggrandizement, but when teachers teach technopoetically, whether at the pre-primary level or at the engineering level, students come back saying, we just love what happened in class today. It was different. And if you can engage the learners, if you can arouse their curiosity, and if you can enjoy the teaching learning process, because we are all learners, even if we call ourselves teachers, change must happen. Change can happen. We just have to will it. There is nobody who's insignificant. No teacher. The sports, the music, the games, all teachers are important. We all have to come together to make this change happen. And I think that is what the GTPS summit is trying for. And I'm pretty sure we'll succeed. Considering the kind of enthusiasm we are seeing, we are reaching out to thousands of schools, thousands of individuals. If people are serious about change, we need to stop talking about change and working towards change. I think this is absolutely vital. So, the online Global Tipping Point Summit from November this year to January 2021 is designed to explore paradigm shifts in education and parenting in an innovative way. Our aim is to create healthy learning and nurturing ecosystems by combining knowledge with self-awareness and wisdom to transform our lack-based consciousness into one rooted in abundance. Who will be attending the summit? policymakers and education board authorities, principals, teachers, college and university professors, parents, caregivers, librarians, counselors, students, and anyone who's interested in education and parenting. What do we do differently? We have world-class visionaries and thought leaders as speakers who will expound their ideas and point the way in the right direction. They will be supported by far in the belly change facilitators who will suggest effective and practical ways of implementing the ideas of the speakers. At the online summit, participants will be invited to form action groups in the areas of their choice and to create the change they wish to see in the world. By 2025, we hope to reach out to as many people as possible through face-to-face and online talks and workshops. Come, be a part of the change. For more details on the summit, please visit our website www.gtpsforchange.org. See you there. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being present at this pre-event session. Thanks to THT for hosting it. And I do hope that you show up in large numbers. Please visit our website, www.gtpsforchange.org. See you there on 20th November.